In today's episode of the Motivation Station with your boy, the Matt Freakin Deakins, we are talking about the power of asking for help. Many times we're at the point where we feel like we want to ask for help, but we're too hard-headed or stubborn to ask for help. So in this episode today, we're going to talk about how powerful asking for help really is. Let's go. Welcome back to the Motivation Station, hosted by your boy, the Matt Freakin Deakins. Coming to you today, this is episode 11, and we're going to title this episode, The Power of Asking for Help. A lot of times people refuse to ask for help because they feel like they need to or they want to do it all themselves. And we're going to talk through some ways of why asking for help, not only with physical labor, with mental brainstorming, with overall just talking with someone or asking for help within someone for a specific purpose is so powerful, and how the minute you check your ego at the door, probably the further you're going to get, not only in your career but in your life. So first, we're going to hear from our friends at Sledge Supplements real quick, and then we're going to dive into the message.
Sledge Supplements provides some of the best pre-workout supplements like HWMF and Hydraulic 2. Both of these noted in sour citrus punch. You need that focus, you need that caffeine, HWMF can help you out. You need that pump, Hydraulic 2 is the way to go. Click down in the description below and get yours today.
All right, we're back. So first part we're going to talk about here of why asking for help is so important. Why is it so important? Three main points of why it's important. One, it's amazing to get emotional support. Getting support from a friend who's going through it, or helping a friend who's going through a tough time, or getting the support of a friend while you're going through a tough time, really is very powerful. There are times where if you have too many people you're seeking stuff from, you can make it harder on yourself because there's too many opinions. We all know what opinions are like, but too many opinions can cloud the view of asking for help and therefore discourage you from asking for help. So be very selective in who you're asking for help from on the emotional side. There are times where I've got a couple people, depending on what's going on, that I will reach out to for emotional support if it's not my wife. If it's a guy that if I need to talk to a guy, like I feel like I need to have unload with a guy or a bro, I've got a couple that I can talk to that I know, we're going to have a private conversation, we're going to talk things out, and we're going to be great going out afterwards. Another way is for practical assistance. How can we solve problems better, more efficiently? How can we build a couch quicker and more effectively without throwing half the pieces? Or I just looked at a chair and made me think of couch. But even recently, we were putting together something at home, and Matt here doesn't ever read instructions, and Beth loves to read instructions and do it right the first time. So of course I don't want to ask for help. I just want to put the damn thing together. And she's like, well, how about we put it together right the first time, and then we're both done and it's done quick. So asking for help in that instance is great. Whether it's that, or it's even like for example, being a lifter. Sometimes when you're trying to do your own nutrition plan and your own training plan and your own work, that's too many things going on at once and too many variables you're trying to keep your mind on all the time. Asking for help there is very key. I did that when I was at a point where I couldn't keep my diet straight because I wanted to focus on training, but I couldn't keep my training focused because I felt like crap because of a bad diet. So you see how this goes full circle. So I reached out, this was years ago, reached out for help, started working with a new coach, and I walked into the gym each day with, here's what I'm doing today. Okay, let's go. It was that easy. But yeah, that usually comes with a monetary cost. I say usually, not always. If you have a friend who has a talent or a proclivity for doing stuff that you're seeking the help of, there's times where they will scratch an itch because you got an itch. There are times, though, where some people charge you, and that's part of their prerogative. But both paying and getting assistance for free, I am always a fan of paying. Why? Because there is now skin in the game. There's skin in the game for you. There's skin in the game for them to give you their best product. And there's definitely skin in the game for you both to see the results, right? And the third one, building connections. Asking for help in building connections and building a network and building people who you can trust to go to and collaborate on new ideas or meet and think about random things going on in the world and just talk with people at a coffee shop. I recently went to a networking event at Toledo, the Hollywood Casino here in Toledo, where I met some awesome people. And if I wouldn't have had someone recommend the Epic Toledo program to me, then I would never have joined and I would have never had this opportunity. So, I asked for help. They pointed me to a direction of this group. The group was holding an event. I went to said event. I met a bunch of people. Same thing happens in so many different ways. LinkedIn is an amazing tool when it comes to career networking and reaching out to people. Sometimes I think it's become too social, too much like a Facebook. The random messages people send you, you're like, whoa, okay, brother. But nevertheless, I feel building connections, especially if building a network is something you need to do to advance yourself, advance your career, and really put money in your pocket or grow your experience. Asking for help from people who have a bunch of connections is definitely a wise thing to do. Next point I wanted to make, why it's or the power of asking for help, is why people hesitate to ask for help. And I have something in the back of my throat. Why people hesitate to ask for help. There's four main points that I'll touch on here. First one is fear of judgment. Second one is cultural factors. Third one is personal pride. And fourth is lack of awareness. So, fear of judgment. There is a subsect of people who think that if you ask for help, that other people think you're weak. And I want to debunk that right now, because asking for help does not show weakness. Asking for help, you can see, to me, I see it as two different things. One, I don't know how to, and two, I might have an idea to, but it might be the around the elbow to get to the wrist version as opposed to going straight up. There might be a more efficient way to do it than the way I'm going to do it or thinking about doing it. So asking for help, to me, isn't showing weakness. Now, if you go somewhere to ask for help and you ask a question that you should know the answer to and somebody makes you feel, or you feel like you're being judged for asking that question, that's a different conversation to have with that person. Like, hey, I didn't appreciate you treating me that way. But I don't ever think that you should stop asking questions. So I understand why people fear that, but I also think that one should also check their ego and say, look, I'm struggling right now. Maybe I do know, but right now I don't. So I always ask for help and never hesitate. Second one, cultural factors. Societal norms that discourage asking for help. So cultural factors. There's the thought that if the whole male versus female thing, where if a male's asking for help, he's not an alpha, and there's all that. It's just so silly. There is times though where there are say cultural aspects that factor in there that kind of pushes the societal norms. And what I say to that is always ask questions. And if there's a fear, make sure that you, if you're the one who's feeling, hesitant to ask because you feel like your culture is going to be violated or you're going to be offended in that way, find someone who you can open up to and say that is a problem, and a problem for you. and make sure you talk out how different ways that you can work to ask questions without it feeling offensive or judgy to you. And even it could be to finding a different person to ask than maybe the person you were thinking about, and you just know that they would make you uncomfortable. So there's always people out there to be able to brainstorm with to try to find better ways to ask questions. And it could even be finding better ways to formulate the questions to ask that could alleviate some cultural factors. Looking at personal pride here. This is a huge one, right? Personal pride. Everyone has an ego, right? Everyone has a little bit of an ego. And I read a book recently called Ego is the Enemy, and it helped me realize that if I were to put my ego aside in multiple times, then I probably would be further than I am today. In fact, it was my own ego that held me back from getting over the fact that I was laid off prior. It was my own ego that when you heard of layoffs, you go, that's not going to happen to me. I mean too much. It was because of my own ego that I wanted to do everything myself. And if I couldn't do it myself, no one else could do it either. And that's a big problem. And if you think that way, you control your own destiny. So understanding that personal pride is a big thing and being able to do things yourself is a big thing. You should never not ask for help because you feel like you know everything. You should never not ask for help. Double negative there, brother. But never let your personal pride get in the way of you succeeding. Swallow that pride. Throw it in the garbage can. Throw it off the roof of the building. Do something. But always ask questions. Always be inquisitive and always seek out help. And then the last one here, lack of awareness, not realizing when help is needed or available. So this is one we just did an exercise here at work on a training that I led recently, where we took a piece of paper and on one side we wrote down all the things we have, all the tools, people, opportunities, etc. That we have, and on the right side we wrote down everything we need. And the whole point of the exercise is to utilize what you have to get what you need. But there was a time gap between filling out this piece of paper. Why? Because there's times where you don't realize what you have. And then when you talk with people about what did you put down? What do you have? And they're like, oh, I didn't have that. Right? Those are some of the things that I think people don't use as tools and exercises like that. And some of it is because they don't know they're out there. Some of it is because they haven't hooked up with people who do know that those tools are out there. So I feel like understanding what you have access to, and you'll never know in one sit down of what you have access to, but every time you uncover something you have access to or have in your arsenal, make sure you're adding it to your list. Because each time you add something to your list, you can now use that as a tool to help you get where you need to go and what you need. But not knowing who to ask, it does stop people in their track. There's times where it's like I feel like I need to ask a question on X and I don't know who to ask. So I ask Google, and you get an answer and you go, huh? So I would say that, but they always say if it's on the internet, it's true. So remember that. The internet's always right. But if you don't know who to ask, you can pose Google a question or insert any AI bot. But always go and start with a peer. And if a peer doesn't know, maybe that peer might know someone who might know something. Never also be afraid to go to your leader and ask, or your parents, or your spouse, or your best friends. If you're afraid of the judgment that they're going to give you because you just don't know, that's their problem, not yours, because you're seeking an answer. And if they make you feel like an idiot, make sure you tell them that's unacceptable. Harder to do than you think. Segment number 3 here, we're going to get into overcoming barriers to asking for help. First things first, you got to change your mindset. I do daily videos on the tube here and on Instagram and LinkedIn and all the social media networks, TikTok, etc. And a lot of things I talk about is changing your mindset, right? You can't be the I can't. If you are telling yourself that story, then you won't do anything. You have to change your story. And so if you change your story from I can't to I can, now all of a sudden, I can ask a question. I can ask for help. I can find out how to do this. I can complete that. If you can complete that, what do you need to complete that? I probably need to ask some questions. So it's a huge mindset shift that a lot of people, especially in the world we live in today, where there's negativity around every corner and every street lamp, that you need to take your mind and switch it to a positive mindset. I can do this. And then think, what do I need to do this? I need X, Y, and Z. Where can I get that information? Well, if I don't know, I need to ask questions to get those answers. So I would say a mindset shift is a key proponent in getting more comfortable asking for help. A couple practical tips, as I just mentioned, identifying what you need. If you're at a problem or trying to find something or trying to